Welcome back, everyone.
Hi, guys. Welcome back.
Happy Friday.
Thanks for joining us again.
I'm Melanie.
I'm Santana.
And this is Just One More Chapter podcast. I was just looking at the screen. If you're watching YouTube, I give you a good 4-second eye contact and didn't say a single thing. Oh my gosh. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
The week's over, the weekend.
Yes.
We just wanted to start off this podcast by saying thank you to everyone who has supported, who has commented, left reviews, liked our posts.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
It means a lot to us, for sure.
Yeah, it means a lot to us, and we really just appreciate the support and the continue of listening and watching. I think we've really had a fun time doing the book club.
Yeah.
So
it's been interesting. I've enjoyed it so far.
I've been enjoying it so much, and the girls who are on Fable get a special shout out.
Yes, shout out to you guys.
Shout out to you guys on Fable who I get to be more interactive with us and talk about the book through the book club.
Yeah.
And if you're part of Fable, you do get to know the next month's book in advance.
Yes.
So that's nice that the girls on there get to plan and figure out where they're going to buy their book and when, instead of waiting until it's the end of the month now to kind of quickly catch up and get the book out there if you have to order it. So thanks to you girls on Fable.
Yeah, shout out to you guys.
Shout out to you guys.
So today is our book review episode. And for those who don't know, we are reviewing Exodus by Kate Stewart. If you haven't read Flock, you're not really going to understand this book too much. So go read Flock first if you haven't, and then come back to this book.
Yeah.
And spoiler warning, of course.
Spoiler warning. It's a book review episode.
Yes.
So if you don't want to be spoiled about the book we're talking about, please exit and come back when you have read it.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we'll just start by going off, kind of giving them a refresher. Do you want to read the back?
Sure. Okay, so a refresher of Exodus. I did what thieves do, I stole you. What Cecilia Horner had expected to be a dull year has already been the most exciting summer of her life, after she met local boys Sean and Dominic, and their relationship developed into something altogether more dangerous. But she is left reeling from the discovery that there are members of the Ravenhood, a secret group of vigilantes. At the head of the society is a man known as the Frenchman, and he doesn't want Cecilia anywhere near his men or his mission. She has every reason to hate him, but there's a fine line between love and hate.
Ooh. So good. This is
So
my
good.
favorite book in the trilogy.
I have to agree.
Hands down.
I have to agree.
Yeah.
The first book was getting there.
Yeah.
We didn't really know much about it, and then
Yeah.
this one was dived head in.
Yeah, you get all the answers in this book.
You do.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed Exodus. I read it so quickly. I really, really
Actually, yeah.
I probably 4 days or something. It was so quick.
Yeah, and this is our second time reading it, actually, because we read it a year ago, I want to say.
Yeah, I would say a year ago or maybe around this time.
Yeah.
So definitely it's a reread, and it still holds up.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and there's a lot of things I missed, I think.
Yeah, me
you
too. I think so.
Going back, I'm oh, wow, I didn't really sink that in too
Yeah.
much, but
Yeah.
rereading it, I'm oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, because sometimes when you're just in it, you're not really grasping everything.
Yes.
You just kind of pick the plot that you're with.
Yeah.
And anything else comes in, you're okay, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And then rereading, you're oh my God, totally
There's
forgot that
certain
happened.
things- Yeah, totally, totally. So I'm going to list off the genres and tropes associated with this book. So it's forbidden romance, enemies to lovers, billionaire romance, age gap, and morally gray characters. Do you agree with those?
Yeah, I agree with them.
Yeah, me too. I think it kind of hits all of those.
Because Tobias is, the billionaire, the morally gray,
Yeah.
and then definitely age gap.
Definitely, yeah.
So yeah, I think those are true to the book.
Yes. And did you reread it on the book, or is it on Kindle Unlimited?
It just got on Kindle.
Oh,
Just
okay.
her books.
Yeah.
I want to say, because I got it in end of October.
Yeah.
And I feel maybe beginning of October.
Oh, okay.
She just put the Ravenhood series on on Kindle.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
I read the physical book, but I
Yeah.
do know if you have Kindle, it's on there.
It's on there. I tried to listen the second time around.
Really?
Oh my God, I couldn't do it.
Really?
Because Tobias had a French accent. I'm
Oh.
I'm reading it in my head. I know he's French, but he's not French in my head.
No, you're not like saying
You know
je
what
t'aime.
like, and he had like a thick French accent, the voice actor. So I was like, no, can't do it.
Like, this is not sexy to me.
Unfortunately, the French accent just does not do it for me. So
That's so funny. I forgot. That's right.
Yeah.
A French accent.
like-
yeah, no, because it
like
wasn't
in my head.
No,
I'm like, no, he's not like that.
no, he's not. That's too funny.
It was like, what was your first impression of the book? Do you remember? Like,
My first impression was I just really wanted to know who the Frenchman was.
Yes.
I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Where is my Sean and Dominic?
I know.
Like, I want to get back to them.
Yeah.
I think that my first impression was cool. We get this. He keeps coming back to Cecilia's house, but
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Sean and Dominic?
Yeah,
I just was like
exactly.
kind of waiting for that to
Yeah,
happen.
me too.
And so, yeah, what was your first impression
I
of
think
it?
I'm about the same. I was just like very interested to know who this like Frenchman was, like the wolf, you know what I mean?
yeah.
This leader of the Ravenhood, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
It was definitely interesting getting in from the first book to this one of just like, okay, I need to know more now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like, I need to know
definitely.
more details.
Especially with the first book, like the cliffhanger at the end, you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I
Right?
definitely wanted to know more because I was
Yeah.
like, what do they do? They're vigilantes.
Yeah.
What's happening with her dad? I just kind of
Yeah.
wanted more information.
Totally, because like the first book doesn't give you much at all.
No.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to read this book?
I do want to say I'd have to check like my apps, but I think it was like 4 days.
Yeah,
like, it
that was me too. It
was
took
like-
me 4 days to reread it.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
reread. Nice.
Yeah.
I think it was like under a week for sure.
Yeah.
Because I remember in that 1 month that I read it, it was
Yeah.
like every single book, like all
Oh,
3
yeah,
in the month.
definitely.
So probably like a week.
Yeah, because these are like page turners.
Page turners.
I love these. So we're gonna go over each main character of the book. We kind of did this already,
Yeah.
reviewing Flock. So
Yeah.
kind of the Frenchman really is the only new character.
Yeah, I think he's the only new one. I think even
Yeah.
like the other girls, we met them in the first book, right?
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, I think the only new character
Is
is the
main
Frenchman.
character.
Yeah, the main character. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Like
him.
I guess Colin, Ryan.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Those
yeah.
guys are new, but they don't really have like a huge part in the book.
No.
They're kind of side characters. So,
Yeah, you're right.
you know. So now we're gonna go over the book. So starting off with a bang, you meet the Frenchman. What were your first thoughts on him?
I definitely was intrigued of Tobias when we first meet him at the pool there. I kind of wanted to get to know him more. He definitely felt for me like dad vibes. Like
100%. He's like calling her a little girl.
yeah,
and
like it's just creepy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like go find someone else to have sex with.
Yeah, he kind of called her like a hoe.
Yeah,
essentially. He was
100%.
like making your way through my men.
It's like, why are you so jealous?
Yeah,
like
right off
ew.
the bat. Yeah, you get that vibe from him.
Yeah,
like,
for me, it was like very like dad vibes or like
Yes.
very big authoritative and like
yes,
you're little,
your
go
little girl.
away.
Like we don't want you here.
Yeah.
and you kind of find out like he's the reason why, like they cut her off.
Yes.
Right, Sean and Dom, they cut her off. So she was like, "Oh, okay, now I get it."
Yeah, that's the secret they were keeping. It was from you, from you knowing that she was with them.
Yeah.
At all.
Oh,
you know?
totally. The secret.
The secret.
And then it kind of goes to like radio silence again, and then we get the Apple Fest scene where she sees Sean again.
That's right. The dancing.
Yeah, which it was kind of like, why would they do that to her? They were already gone.
I was like so
You know,
mad.
like-
I loved it, but then I was so mad that
Yeah.
immediately they were like, "Bye."
Yeah, like,
you want to dance
just
with her? Just dance with me. She's like
Des-
crying in his arms.
dances with her, and then
Yeah.
kisses her, and then disappears into the crowd. And she's like, "Hey, what?"
Yeah, that-
she's chasing after him, like
So-
poor Cecilia. And then she sees Dom, you know, and then like
She
says-
admits that she
Yeah,
loves
she's
him.
like, "I love you," and he doesn't say anything.
No, but he wanted
Gets
to
like-
get to her.
He kind of looks at her.
Yeah, it kind of looks at her
Yeah.
and like takes a step and is like, "No, I can't."
Yeah.
But the fact that like, what was the point of you guys seeing her?
Yeah.
Why did you want to come and see her?
like
just
breaks
dance.
her all over again.
Yeah, like you know what you were doing, and then this poor girl's like, you know, trying to get over you, and then immediately like, "Oh, dance with me, see,"
Yeah.
and then just peace out.
and then gone.
Yeah. Oh, I was so mad.
Like poor thing. And then that like kind of refers to her in like that Twilight scene where Bella,
Yes, that's
know,
right. Yeah, because
they
she did talk
reference-
about this.
Yeah, she references that, and I was like, oh yeah, she was like broken. She had like
Broken.
lost a bunch of weight, and
Because I didn't realize rereading it, how quickly the first book was. Like, it was
Yes.
just like 3 months.
I know.
That they like all got together
Yeah,
and
just
did all
the
of
summer.
this, and then bye.
Yeah.
Like, that's quick.
I know.
Even though she's not like a young girl, but I think for anybody,
Yeah, she's 19. I think
19.
she's like 20 in this book,
That's
right?
right. Okay, yeah. But I think for anybody-
still, like, she had never really experienced
no.
love like that.
No,
You know what
and
I mean?
the two guys both loving her, and also they're like, okay, we want to see you for a second.
Cut
We can't
off.
talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was so
And then
annoyed.
Sean's like, oh, like, be happy, eat. It's like, okay, dude.
So easy for you to say.
Exactly.
What the
Like, oh, I just felt so bad for her.
I did too.
And then she kind of like tries to put herself out there after a little while, and she goes on like an unsuccessful date. She comes home, and then there's like that pendant on
yeah.
her pillow.
Yes.
And she is like, who left this? She's assuming it's Sean and Dom.
Yes.
She's calling out for them, and she goes to that meeting spot behind her father's house, or like, I guess, what is that spot? It's like
I need to see
it's-
look at a map.
Tobias is like, that's where he first like started.
Yeah, it's like a little hiking point, right?
I think it's just like a little clearing behind her father's
This is
house.
when I wish books sometimes gave more like a map or something.
Map, definitely.
Just because I feel like I have a hard time envisioning that.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know, like exactly. So I just think if I could see it on a map, I think it would make it so much easier. Just for I don't know. I just want more information.
Oh,
You know?
totally.
I just
No,
would like some
I
more.
agree, because like it would be nice to like have a reference point of like, where is this spot? Is it right there? Is it 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know, right?
No.
And then she sees the Frenchman.
I know. And then he comes. Like, I was like kind of hoping that one of them would be there
Yeah,
because
me
why are
too.
you leaving a pendant?
Totally,
And then being like, hi.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
what? There's phones, you guys.
Again, exactly. Like, where's the communication?
Right?
Like,
I don't think he's tapping your phones.
Exactly. Write a letter. Like,
There you go. Put a little note.
Little note.
But
Post it.
I understand. She's trying. The Kate is trying to have us figure out who it could be.
Totally,
So I
totally.
get it
Yeah.
because then I think the reader, you get to choose. Like, is it Sean
Yeah.
for your mind or is it Dominic for your mind?
Exactly.
You
yeah.
know.
Oh, totally. I agree with you. But yeah, so then she sees the Frenchman. She's like quite shocked. They have this little like back and forth. And then this part I was just like, what the hell? They make out at this point. He comes on to her. They have this like hot, kind of like angsty makeout session.
Yeah, like angry.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to, but I'm gonna kiss you.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and he snatches her pendant off. He's
Yes,
like,
'cause he's
who
wa-
gave this to you?
Yeah, who's wondering who
Yeah.
who gave this to you
Yeah.
and who you saw. I don't know. Like I think up at this point, I knew something was gonna happen.
Oh,
with them.
totally. Yeah.
But the way it comes across and the way it does,
Yeah.
and then after that makeout session, I believe where he was like, it's so easy. Like it was so easy for you to like come
where's
at,
the
come on me.
loyalty? You
Yes.
say you're loyal to these men, but
Yes.
where's the loyalty? You were just about to F me.
You're like 40. Like
grow up, dude.
grow up, dude. You're 4. She's 19. Like what do you
Yeah.
expect her to like?
Exactly.
Oh, and she's like, oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this to her?
Exactly. And she's already in a heartbroken state. He
You can
knows
see
that.
that. Yeah.
He's the reason why she's like that. And he knows it. So I'm just like, oh,
I don't know.
it pissed me off.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah, it pissed me off too.
So he was really angry with her at that point after he saw the pendant.
Angry with her. Okay, go to the
Yeah.
dudes. Okay,
Yeah, it's like, okay.
go to the guys who left it, not this little girl.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
And it's at this point we kind of learn he's Tobias's brother.
yes,
She sneakily steals his wallet and sees his name is Tobias King, the same last name as Dominic, right? And
Did
she's
you
like,
think? Like, did you have any?
I had no idea because in the first book, I don't think he even mentioned he had a brother at all.
He did talk about his family.
Yeah.
I don't know if he. I think he did mention. Oh, I don't know. And
I
was
know I'd
guessing.
have to go back, but I don't think we knew at this point. I'm trying to go back because we've already read this book, right? But
know.
I'm just trying to think. I don't think we knew at that point. that he even had a brother. So she was like really shocked
Yeah, so
to find that out.
True, but Dominic did talk about being in France.
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
then I think it's where we made the correlation of like, oh, maybe he could be the Frenchman because he spoke some French and stuff. But yeah, I can't remember if he
Yeah, because
had.
at the time, I think like there was reference to Dom being the Frenchman.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
And
that was
it kind of left the reader up
guys.
to like, oh, who is this?
Yeah.
But then it kind of clicks with her because she's like, okay, he didn't speak French that often. Like, he was French, but,
he spoke it to, like, well, who was that older lady again? Like,
Delphine.
Delphine. He spoke it to her.
Yeah.
And so, but no, I don't think I had any indication of, like,
Yeah.
he could be related to Dominic.
Yeah, me neither.
I didn't think
Yeah.
that.
So that was quite shocking. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they kind of like part ways. And then he's starting to like come into her house like unannounced.
Yeah.
Like he owns the fucking place.
I don't know.
It's
Like,
just like, okay, dude.
owns the place. Like, sit down and eat this food.
Yeah, he
Who
cooks
are
her
you?
dinner. Like
Yes.
she's pissed off. Like
I don't know. It's this whole like berating of back and forth that like
Yes.
we're flirting.
yeah,
But like
you could tell she was attracted to him. Obviously,
Yo,
right?
yeah, she called him like the most attractive guy on the planet.
like okay,
That was like her
girl.
first description of him.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like tall, dark, handsome man.
Like, oh my god.
And this is kind of where they make the agreement, like where he's like, okay, well, I'll wait until you secure the money from Roman to take care of your mother. Because that was her whole MO in the first book, was she came to Triple Falls to, you know, secure this money for her mother and to have a nice future for her. So they make that agreement and the tension's building, that lust-hate relationship.
Yeah, this mutual understanding that they have of like we're just using each other.
Yeah.
Girl, you're 20.
It's
The
a
guy's, like,
business agreement.
a business agreement.
Yeah.
Like, she definitely was, you know, standing up for herself and putting her foot down. And I think for like rereading it, you just realize there's a huge power dynamic here.
Definitely.
Like, you definitely don't have the upper hand
No.
in this agreement.
Not at all.
So it's just like, I don't know.
This poor girl.
This poor girl was getting like super annoyed with Tobias.
Me too.
Like-
Like I hold a grudge against him, which
Oh,
we'll
me
get
too.
into later. But
get into this.
we'll get into it.
And like, I
but-
think it's still been to this point,
Yeah.
were you still being like, okay, but where are the boys?
Oh, 100%.
Right? You're like, every chapter I flipped.
Yeah.
I was like, are we gonna?
Okay, where are they?
Where are they? Yeah.
No word from them at all.
Like,
Like-
I was getting so like irritated.
Me too.
Because I really wanted the boys to come back.
Oh, right?
Gosh.
And then they finally do it. They have some angsty, hateful sex.
Oh my gosh. Mhm.
But she kind of let this happen in a way, right? She
yeah.
wanted to let go of Sean and Dom. She's like, F these guys.
Yes.
They left me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long it's been at this point. I want to say like maybe 8 months.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while at this point that
Yeah.
she's had no word, no contact whatsoever. So
Nothing.
I understand her reasoning for wanting to do it.
Yeah.
right?
Like, when you think of it, the longer time they've been away
Mm-hmm.
is longer than when she met them and had the whole fling with
Yes,
them, right?
yeah.
So you understand, like, you could obviously, being young and you have these infatuations, it can last forever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
But it definitely has been a lot longer since she's met them.
Yes.
So I get it.
Yeah.
It definitely was frustrating that it was Tobias, but he's like
I
the close
know.
proximity person.
Exactly.
So you can't really blame
Yeah,
her for
he's
that.
like keeps making his way into her life.
Yeah,
like she's like, leave me alone.
Yeah, this dude's
He's
like, no.
constantly showing up. Like, hi.
Oh my God.
I'm in your room unannounced. Like, what the F?
Jesus Christ.
Like, and then after this, she's feeling quite liberated. She's like, F these guys. You
I'm
know,
over you now.
I'm over you guys. She
Yeah.
goes, chops her hair off, buys a Jeep, and then she heads into Tessa's shop to get a new dress.
Yes.
And then I think she goes to the bar after that.
Oh, is it the same? Or the bar scene?
Yes.
Okay.
Where I think she's like drinking and
She's trying. So this is
Yeah.
what I think of what it was. She was trying to get a rise
out of Tobias.
Out of Tobias.
Because he has eyes over this whole town. He basically owns Triple Falls.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
He controls
He
all
controls-
the businesses and
Yeah.
everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So
Like, I get what she was doing.
oh, totally.
Of trying to
She's
make a
making a show of herself.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Come
she's
get
like
me."
She feels like she's just like trapped. So
Yeah.
like, could you blame her? No.
No.
Like, I probably would have done the same thing too.
100%.
Like, you're like watching me when I don't even know you're watching me. Like, let me just
exactly.
go have fun and like leave me alone.
Yeah, 100%. And then he comes and visits her again, and you can kind of start to tell, like, she's falling for him anyways, right? And then after that, he brings her a gift. Because the last time they had sex, I think he like ripped her dress or something.
Oh,
and this
yeah,
is where he
yeah.
apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry. I know I've like ransacked your life, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the reason for it.
Yeah.
Right? But still not really giving her
Any details. No.
right?
No, she's still left in the dark of this whole
Yeah.
situation.
100%.
Right?
And I think she kind of like questions him, like, oh, you have to live with this too now because like Sean and Tom are like your brothers.
Yeah, she definitely
You
feels
know?
guilty of
Yeah.
it being Tobias that she's like
Yeah.
getting with. So I think it's still in the back of her mind that like
Yeah.
she's gonna eventually see them.
Oh, totally.
So like if she's like, if you go down, like I guess like I go down with you.
Oh, totally.
You know?
But then it's like, it also is like, oh, he's saying, oh, look, where's your loyalty? But it's like, hey, those are your brothers. Like, you're legit half brother, and then Sean.
just like you've grown up since you were younger.
You've
So
known
yeah.
him his whole life. So
Yeah.
it's like, hey,
I know,
where's
like,
your loyalty?
Exactly, the hypocrisy of
Yeah,
it. Being
I
like,
was
where's
like-
your loyalty? She's known him for 3 months,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
You've known these kids since they were younger.
100%.
Like, oh, the gaslighting.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that part pissed me off. I was
Yeah,
like, okay.
he definitely was annoying me with
Yeah.
the things he would say to her, and it's just like, you're being a hypocrite.
Yeah. And he also admits at this point that he doesn't want to tell them, Sean and Dom, about them. He doesn't want them to know.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, hey, well.
You're just doing the same thing that they did.
Yeah. And she's
Like-
questioning it, like, is he trying to set me up? Like,
yes.
does he want me to tell them? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because she doesn't trust anybody at this point.
No.
She's like, F these dudes.
Yes, F these dudes, Triple Falls.
And then it kind of goes, she gets an email from Roman about meeting up early to go sign the paperwork to get her inheritance, right? So she meets up with him in Charlotte, and they have this explosive, heated argument, I guess you would call it. She wants to know, like, why? Why didn't you love me? Like, why? And he doesn't give her anything.
Yeah, it seems like all these men in these books
I
just
feel
don't
so,
want to.
every single man in this book
doesn't want
like,
to communicate.
does her dirty.
Does her dirty. Yeah, like her relationship with Roman is, you know, very weird. Like from the beginning of the book, it was like, hi, nice to meet you,
Yeah.
nice to see you, okay, bye.
Bye. Going to work.
Going to work.
I'm going to live in Charlotte now.
Like-
enjoy the house.
God, like the relationship was so strange, and definitely, you know, the constant of never wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Her mother never wants to talk about like what happened between them.
It's always like a runaround. She's like, hey, well,
just
like,
blindly trust
no
him.
answers
No,
whatsoever.
like everyone's just expecting Cecilia to blind trust them. Like even her mother's like, oh, he's been good to us. Like, he's a good father.
And
When?
she's like, no.
no,
He has been a shit father.
Yes.
Thanks. He hasn't been in my life at all.
no, just sends us
We were
money.
super broke growing up. Like,
This guy's super rich, has a company, doesn't want to give us any money, and then just expects me to like, hi, like I love you.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Be
give you
this-
some warm hugs and stuff and vibes when I'm at your
Exactly.
place. Yeah, that whole fight with them, it was definitely hard.
Oh,
having her just like
totally.
beg, be like, just tell me.
Tell me.
Like, why can't you like just
Yeah.
tell me what the heck?
Exactly.
Like, what
And then
happened?
She's like, at the end of it, she's like, hey, shake my hand. This is clearly just a business deal for you.
yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Right?
Oh.
And then she comes back home. She's completely broken. Tobias is there. He admits he listened to the whole thing. Again, like, excuse me,
like-
can I have some privacy?
I know. This guy's like would not leave her vicinity. Like she can't do anything.
It's
without him
giving
watching.
stalker.
It's giving stalker. But not like a cute stalker.
No.
Like it's giving like I can't tell you everything, but like let me just invade your life with everything.
Like, let me not tell you anything, but I get to know everything about your life. Like,
yeah, and then like, hey, just trust me. Like, oh my god.
yeah.
I
But
wasn't
he
surprised.
comforts her, and then, you know.
It's frustrating, but it's nice that he is, you know, comforting her.
Yeah.
Because I think she just needed anyone to like hug her after that.
Oh,
after that.
totally. Yeah,
Like,
she just needed somebody to be there.
yeah.
Like, she was completely broken. Like,
Yeah, and she has no, like, was there really any friends in Triple
No,
Falls?
no.
Like, just like her worker friends.
yeah, because all of her friends were with the Ravenhood, and they all cut her off.
Exactly. So that she has like nobody.
She's super alone. She doesn't really want to talk to her mom about it.
No, well, her
You
mom
know?
is like I don't know, her mom's like so dissociative,
Yeah,
like not there
I
at
think
all.
she struggles with some like mental health issues as well, right?
Yeah.
She like asks her to get the help and everything, you know. So then her and Tobias are, you know, being romantic, do it again. They're hanging out in the backyard, and then boom,
Oh my God.
Sean and Dom walk in.
I could not believe
I was
that was the
shocked.
introduction of them coming back.
Like of all times.
All times.
Like, oh my God.
And he was like building up to that scene.
Yeah.
You could definitely tell Tobias wanted to like say "I love you." For me, that was
Oh, yeah.
obvious.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
yeah, like that was obvious. He was like trying to say something. If there was like "I love you" or talking about Sean and Dominic. Like I knew he was trying to drop the ball of some
Yes.
sort of secret.
Yeah.
So and then when the boys showed up, it was like, oh my God.
Yes. Like,
Like-
of all times to walk in, like, they just had sex. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
Tobias was, like, half naked. Like,
I'm assuming. Yeah, I think they were.
like, canoodling in the backyard.
Oh my God, this
He's
scene
like, well,
was.
well, brother, look at this.
Oh my God, that scene was intense.
Crazy.
And then after that same scene of them talking about like, of them telling Cecilia like, "Hey, ask Tobias, like we
Yeah.
are gone because of him."
Because of him. Yeah.
And then she's like, "What? Like, what are you guys talking about?"
Yeah, he knew the whole time. He was the reason they were sent away. He sent them away to France on some like BS
Yeah.
mission or I don't know
I
what
don't-
it was, but they were
Just-
gone for like 10 months at this point. So it was like, okay, cool.
Oh, it was
Like the betrayal.
the betrayal, and then like Dominic telling her, or I don't know what his exact words were, being like, of all people, like my brother.
Yes.
I don't know if he called her a slur. I don't know if he called her
Yeah,
a
I
slur, but
think
he's
he
just,
did call her something along
Yeah.
those lines.
And so
That's kind of a theme in this book. They're always calling her this, but it's like, hey, what are you guys then?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Oh my
It's
gosh.
like, yeah, and then she finds out Tobias also knew how Sean and Dom felt about her.
Yes.
And he still did what he did. Like, he tried to make him known in her life, right? Like,
Yeah.
he still tried to interject his way in there. Like,
yeah. And that just
knowing
made it cut it
his
even
brother,
deeper.
like one of the closest people to him in the world, his only family member that's left, and he betrays him like that, like, oh, they were pissed.
Oh my gosh.
And obviously Cecilia's pissed too.
Well, yeah, because she hasn't seen these guys in
Yeah,
forever, and she's
right.
like, "What happened? How are you guys
Yeah.
here now?" Like, this girl's just like,
and I felt
crazy.
so bad for her. Like, what was she supposed to do? Sean was like, go be happy, like, live your life.
Ew.
Like,
I know. No, totally. Yeah,
You
like
know
you
what I
can't be
mean?
mad just because she picked someone you didn't expect.
Yeah.
But then also, again, she is 19 and 20. This dude, Tobias, is older.
Yeah.
Like,
he's
start
like
making him
11 years
accountable.
older.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, dude, you're in your 30s.
Yes.
Like,
But you've known this girl for 3 months. You've known this guy for
Yeah.
since you were a child. Like,
exactly.
give her a freaking break.
I think this is his way of being like selfish, he said, because
Oh.
he had done everything for everyone else. Like,
he's so annoyed me in this
I
book.
know.
I did not
It's
feel
like,
this way the first time reading
me
it.
either, but the
Like, I
second
didn't
time
like him,
around, I was
though.
like, "Okay, you're so high and mighty on yourself."
Yeah.
Like,
I still was mad at him,
Yeah,
obviously, for
me
what he
too.
did, but I don't think I had this much of a reaction to him.
yes, yeah, me too. I'm like, "F this guy."
F this guy.
So then, yeah, it's kind of like everyone parts ways at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Cecilia's heartbroken again because she's kind of fallen for Tobias, like, you know, and
Oh,
she still
100%.
has feelings for Sean and Dom, so she's just like all over the place, right?
Yeah. She needs to just leave.
Yeah.
Like, just get away from these
Oh,
people.
totally.
Like, my gosh.
And then she's drugged and branded with these raven wings. Like this part, I kind of miss. I don't know why I kind of missed this in the first.
Really?
Yeah, and no, I remembered it, but like her being
There's, like, so
drugged,
much.
I was just kind
Yeah.
of like, oh my god, like it didn't really hit me the same the first time. I was
think
just
it's
like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, I think it's like
Right?
you said there's so much going on. That I could
Yes.
see how you would miss that.
Like little details. You're like, oh,
This part
You
was
know?
like invigorating. The fact that like
Oh
you
my
guys
God.
branded her
branded.
when she was unconscious.
100%.
And obviously you don't know who. I assume I made the assumption that it was Tobias, even though
So
she
did-
went
I did too. Yeah.
right, even though she
Yeah.
went after and like tried to confront the boys. But I knew it was
Yes.
him because you had no other reason to think it was the boys?
No,
They
exactly.
They just seen you?
But she didn't know. She was just like, who the hell did this?
I was like, what the fuck?
pissed.
I was
She wakes
pissed.
up. She's like, what is going on here? Why am I so tired? Like,
Yeah, like I was
imagine?
shocked of this action. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I was
yeah,
shocked.
me too. I was like, wow.
Like that was so messed up.
And she's pissed, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes and sees Sean and Dom. I think they're at the garage or
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah,
And
she goes there.
is livid.
Livid.
Like off the rocker.
She deserves it.
Oh, 100%.
okay?
Like rightfully so.
Yeah.
She slashes all their tires. She's like, who the hell did
Wasn't she
this
gonna
to
try to
me?
burn it down too?
Yeah, she had like one of those Molotov cocktails.
Yes, she was like, I want to burn
She
you guys.
lit it and she threw it. Yeah, and they were
Oh my
like,
gosh. And of course the boys were like, what are you talking about?
yes,
Like
exactly.
we have no
they
idea
have
what you're talking
no
about.
idea. Like they're not giving her anything again. So she's like, what the hell's going on? She's pissed. So yeah, so then she throws that Molotov cocktail, lights the place up, drives away, and then she's driving aimlessly for like hours, I think.
Yeah, I
Right.
think this is the point where she like leaves, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where she just left them.
Yeah, she left. She's driving around. She's still in Triple Falls. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then she goes back to Roman's house. It's like early morning.
Okay.
And then this is chapter 25.
Okay, you gotta
Yeah.
remind me.
And then she walks in and she's sleeping.
Oh shit! Oh my god! How could you say? I can't wait.
Yes.
Yep.
So Dom shows up. He has a gun. She's scared
Yeah.
because
What
she's
did
just
you
done-
think?
At first, I was like, oh no, why does he have a gun? Like at first, that first little part there, I was like, hey, what the f?
Same.
You know, because
Same.
she's just betrayed him in like the biggest way, and then she's just slashed all their tires,
Yeah.
fucked up all their cars. So like, I was like, oh my god,
I
what is
didn't think
what
he was
is
gonna hurt her.
I
though.
didn't think so either.
Right?
I thought maybe he was just went there to scare her.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I was like, oh, she did just like fuck everything up. So
I was worried. I was kind of worried.
yeah. But then of course he's like, don't be scared. I would
you can't-
never hurt you.
Yeah.
I love you, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So he leaves the gun behind, right, on the staircase because he's like, I don't want to scare you. Look, I'll leave it here. And then
They go in for the embrace.
yes,
And things like that.
Yeah, they're like kind of reminiscing a little bit, and he's like, I was in love once. I think he said something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't think he
right?
said it
I didn't
directly.
Think he didn't say I love you. He was just like, I was in love once.
Which is so stupid. Like
And-
at this point, guy,
yeah.
just tell her straight out. Like, what's the
Yeah,
point of like
100%.
just being like, I'm not really gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it to you.
Exactly.
Come on.
Right? And then I think he kind of says, like, I know Tobias is in love with you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's like,
Like-
you know, make him happy and all this stuff, right?
It's like, really? I was like, in my mind when I read this, I was like, you're not gonna try and fight for her
yeah.
at all?
At all.
Like, you're like,
both of them.
oh,
They're just
well,
like, whatever.
Whatever.
You're
Aren't
Tobias's
you mad
now.
the fact that he left you to go and you
Yeah.
were like really into this girl?
100%.
You come back upset at her.
Yeah.
You're not even trying to fight for her.
No, exactly. I was pissed. I was like, "Hey, guys!"
Really?
Like the
You just, like-
second time around, like I was just
Yeah.
like, "Hey!" Like
They folded
did
so
nothing.
easily.
They were just like, "Hey, whatever. I guess he has her now."
I wanted
was
some
just
more like fight.
Yeah, like,
come on. Like, geez,
Like-
if it meant this much to you guys,
Yeah.
why aren't you not like fighting for her? Why you're like,
Exactly.
oh well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just like, "Hey, that pissed me off."
That pissed me off.
And then we have some intruders coming to the house, a Miami crew from Florida. Yeah, this scene. Oh, the first time around it broke me, but the second time, how emotionally, like, how did it affect you? Did it?
The first time, I think I was upset. I don't know if I cried,
Yeah.
but I definitely was like so upset.
Yeah.
The fact that like you just knew he was gonna die.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
even like, yeah, it's kind of, even in the first book, he's like, I don't really have a future for myself, you know? He kind of knew he was never going to make it to 30.
yeah.
Oh,
but they didn't really.
so heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking.
Ugh.
I don't. As he started to come in, and then she figures out, you know, something's happening. Then Dom can't get to his gun, and then the guy, you know, is like taunting them. And I just knew he was gonna
I know.
but he was gonna die. It made me so upset.
Oh, I was so sad.
I did not want him to die.
Like right in her arms.
Yes.
Too. He's like, we love rainy days, don't we, baby? I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
stop.
I hated
gutted
it.
me. It gutted me.
I know. And then when he like turned around and he faced her and was just like saying like, oh, we can go watch a movie after this. And you're
Yeah.
like, don't do this to
Oh
me,
my
Dominic.
God, what he was saying, I was like dying inside.
Oh, I hated it. I hated that scene.
Yeah, but so essentially Dom gets shot trying to save Cecilia because it was either him
Or her.
right?
Yeah.
Because she, she
Because he didn't have a gun.
Yeah, he didn't have a gun.
And he was right next to her.
Yeah, there was a guy, I think, behind her or something like that.
Oh, that's right. There was another guy
Yeah,
there too.
he had a knife, so it was like either
That's right.
Dom or Cecilia, right? Because Tobias was there as well. He was armed, but, he can only take out one guy, so it's like...
Yeah, so picturing in my mind, again, maps of like where people are, because like there's the stairwell, okay, and then there was like another room across.
Yeah.
I think that's where Tobias was,
Yes.
right? And then it's her, Dominic, and then there's a person behind. Like this is where my mind needs a little more guidance.
Yes,
you know,
me too.
Of just a little bit more
map.
details, just a little map.
Yeah.
Just give me where, just where they were.
So yeah, basically they tell her there's this huge shootout at Roman's house, and they get Cecilia out of there. Tyler's like, leave, do not come back,
Yeah, like pretty much. Okay, you need to leave
Yeah.
and like leave Triple Falls.
Yeah, don't contact us.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Again,
Like,
you expecting her just to be like, bye, I just saw a guy that I really loved.
I just, the man I love just died in my arms.
Yeah,
No
like,
big deal.
Bye,
Peace.
don't.
What the heck?
What the heck? And before we move on from this point, at this point, I felt like Cecilia loved Dominic more than Sean.
Me too.
I think like that.
I think so too.
I think, that scene
It was
before he passed away.
Definitely.
It definitely made me feel like
she had to choose between the two, I think she would have chose Dom.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's part 2 of the book, 6 years later.
Which kind of, I don't know, frustrated me at first.
Yeah, I was like, why is there such a huge jump?
Yeah, I kind of wanted things just to kind of keep going, but I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, it
is
makes
what it is.
sense. Yeah. She's engaged to a man named Colin.
That didn't really shock me.
No,
but,
I
like,
kind of figured she would eventually.
Yeah,
she had to move on sometime.
yeah, gosh, still pining over him.
Which she still is, because she
Yes.
calls off the engagement.
Yes, yes.
Poor Colin. I felt so bad for him.
I felt bad for him too.
He's like, why? Like, I love you so much.
I know, this poor man just
and
loved
she's
you.
like, sorry, I'm still in love with these guys I met when I was 19,
Yeah.
and they completely effed up my life, but still in
Aw,
love.
That poor boy.
I felt so bad for him. So she heads back to Triple Falls because Roman has passed away, so she needs to go deal with his estate. He still has the house there, his company, which she wants to sell. So,
Because everything goes to her,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
he passed away,
Oh,
so
yeah,
now it's
everything.
like she
Yeah.
has to like go and figure out his stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think she's the only living
Heir.
heir.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So she gets everything. And then she has that phone call with Colin where she's admits everything to him. No,
Now you do? You don't really talk to him prior to this?
I know. And when she's
let's go. That's so
I
fucked
touched
up.
myself after we.
Oh,
I just sticks the
Cecilia.
dagger right in his heart.
Girl, you could keep some things
she's
to
yeah,
yourself.
that's what I was like, you gotta let that out.
That is so
Poor
fucked up.
Colin. I felt so bad for him.
I felt so bad for him. Yeah. Why would you say that?
Yeah, this
Why would you
man's
tell
just confessing he loves you so much.
Yeah.
You're his best friend.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. And you're
okay, I guess you're saying something really harsh so that he doesn't want you.
Yeah, but come on,
Come
girl.
on. That's so fucked.
That's the biggest F you ever. Poor Colin. I felt so bad for him.
Jesus Christ.
And then she calls Ryan, which is her lawyer. She works with him. I guess they dated back in college as well. So they kind of have a little bit of a history there.
Yeah, yeah.
She wants to sell everything. She says, I'm done with this. I just want to sell it all off and be done, right? So then she goes to sign all the papers to sell the company.
Yeah.
Sell
and someone pretty
Roman's
quickly wanted to buy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right away. And she notices the raven symbol
She's
on
like,
the paperwork.
So tacky.
I was like, hey,
Could you be
Tobias, could you make it any more obvious, honestly?
obvious.
Right? So she's like, no.
Yeah.
F this. I want him here now.
Yeah, she's like, I need to see him. She knew who it was.
Oh,
Like, she's
totally.
like, you're not just going to be a silent buyer.
Yeah, no.
And not come talk to me.
She's like, I need to talk to this man, right? So she meets up with Tobias. She's like, I want answers. You know, what happened? Like, why did you do all of this? And he's like, no. Again.
Doesn't want to, like,
In
talk
the dark.
to you.
So she's like, F you. I'm changing up the paperwork. I want to be involved with this company now. So if you want to buy it, I'm being involved, right? So which I thought was pretty funny because he was pissed.
Yes.
He was
Well,
mad.
did you really expect her, when she found out that you were the buyer, to be like,
Yeah.
bye?
Yeah, like, no
come
big
on.
deal.
Yeah,
Like,
and not give her answers about
that's
anything.
another thing that pisses me off about Tobias is
Yeah.
he's always like leaving these little like Easter eggs for her and then like expecting her to be like, no big deal. You know what I mean?
You're
Like
doing it for a reason. Like, you want her to keep talking to you and doing this to you. But then you're like,
Exactly.
not right now.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Like,
F you.
Oh, this dude, man.
So they're kind of like working together. She's trying to help make the company an employee-owned company. So all the people of Triple Falls can kind of flourish, I guess. I don't
Well,
really
because she
know.
wants, she doesn't like the fact that obviously before in the first book it goes over how, you know, the people of the company are kind of getting stifled with payments.
Yes.
And they weren't happy. So I understand when she wanted to, you know,
Yeah.
fix this, that she wanted it to be more beneficial for the workers.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she didn't like what her dad was doing.
And I think she kind of made that her life mission. Like she went to school for business and she works for she owns a nonprofit. So that's kind of like what she does in life anyways.
Yeah.
So I thought it was nice.
Yeah, I think so.
And then she takes down Jerry Seigel, which is her father's old enemy, which I thought was pretty interesting. Because she knew he was the one who had made the call for Miami to go,
Yes.
right? So she's like, F this guy.
He was the reason why Dominic is dead.
Yeah, why Dom died, right? So, and Tobias was pissed about that, which I was like, hey, just because you didn't get to do it?
Yeah. Like I don't know. Whatever. He's pissed about everything. It seemed like.
Honestly,
So, like,
anything she did.
Yeah. Like maybe if you involved her and stuff, that she would, you know, go along with the plan that you had. Exactly. But you're not telling her anything.
Exactly.
So you expect her just to be like sitting in the corner and not doing anything about it.
Exactly.
But now that she's actually like a full grown adult and has money.
Yeah.
And that she's not going to think for herself.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, F you.
Yeah.
She's like, I had all this information on him. There's nothing he can do to hurt me.
Yep.
You know, she's like on the board. She's like, I know this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then she gets arrested for speeding and possession of weed.
That's so
Which I thought
funny.
was so funny.
It was so random,
You're
too.
right, totally. I was like, okay. But I can understand. She's like, oh, I'm trying to like, you know, relive old memories. Right?
Yeah.
And Ryan's like, what the hell? Like, who is this person? Because like he knows Cecilia as like this boss girl who's like has her shit together.
Yeah.
And now she's in Triple Falls and he's like, who are you?
Yeah, getting arrested, speeding.
Like,
who is this
weed
girl?
possession. He bails her out and then he's basically like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm in love with you.
Oh my God, like another guy.
He's like, I need to resign. Yeah, I can't. Another one.
All these men just like fall into her lap.
I thought Ryan was funny though.
He definitely was a reprieve of like funniness, just like
definitely.
cheeky.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
His character was a good side character.
Yeah. And then Cecilia goes into Tessa's shop.
Ooh.
This part pissed me off too.
It pissed me off.
Like Tessa was so rude to her.
So rude to her. This girl in the first book, it took me rereading the second book. It made me realize like how Tessa was like obsessed with Sean.
Yeah.
And not like shy obsessed, but like she wanted Sean. And,
definitely.
And so then this was like a heart and the dagger.
I know.
A dagger in the heart.
Yeah.
A heart in the dagger. Wow. Dagger in the heart of like you find out she's with Sean.
I know. And she's like, makes Cecilia feel horrible. Like,
yeah,
I was just like, I get
He
it.
wants
Like,
me
that's
now.
your husband's ex. And like, yeah.
But you've never seen her over 6 years.
And they were friends. Which,
Yeah.
Well, I get, they're not close friends, but
acquaintances.
Acquaintances.
But
right?
to be like, he's mine now.
Yeah.
Girl, I've only for 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I loved him, but like, I haven't seen you in
Exactly.
6 years.
Yeah, like, chill.
That came on was
She's
really
like, he's
strong.
mine to keep. I'm
It's so
okay, Tessa.
hated it.
Chill.
It.
And you find out, they're married. They have 2 children. So. thought
Yeah,
that
I was
pretty
pissed.
crazy. I was mad too because I'm like, oh, okay, Sean moved on completely fine. Like, what the hell? He
like-
couldn't have contacted Cecilia at all because at this point, like, she still had no contact from them other than a few like random phone calls where she would like hear like Sean's Zippo.
Oh, yeah,
or like
I guess.
Tobias,
That's
something
right.
with Tobias too, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah, I think the time jump definitely made it sting harder because like for
Yeah.
us it hasn't been a time jump when
Yeah,
you're reading it,
yeah,
right? You're
exactly.
kind of going through it right then to be like, oh my god, it's been this many years. Of
Yeah.
course they have families.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
still
it's like,
hurt.
oh, I was shocked. I was
Yeah.
just like, wow, they really fought for her.
really fought for her.
And then Cecilia goes to the bar and she meets up with Tyler.
Yep.
She kind of, he doesn't really give her any answers, but he does thank her because he got some more time with Delphine. I guess him and Delphine had a bit of a relationship
Well, he
in
definitely
the first book.
Yeah, he
right?
definitely like really cared for her, even though like again there was an age gap between the
Yes.
two.
Yeah.
But like did it really make me interested between their storyline? No.
No, me neither.
Like I didn't really care.
Me neither.
You know, like Tyler
They were
was
just kind of like meh characters
Meh.
for me.
Yeah,
I
like-
wasn't really interested in Delphine's story at all.
no.
I know she was kind of like a cranky old French woman.
yeah.
I was just like,
That's all the vibe I got from her. Like Tyler was cute, came
Yeah.
in and out.
Yeah.
He definitely was like the spunky.
yeah, he's
you
always
know?
so nice to Cecilia, right?
Yeah, like him I cared about,
Yeah.
but like I didn't really care about him.
Yeah. So he kind of doesn't really tell her much, but that he's doing big things,
Yeah.
right? Then Cecilia gets completely wasted at the
Mm-hmm.
bar. Some guy starts hitting on her. Tobias comes. Throwing tables, smashing glasses.
Like, totally
Like,
composed.
So dramatic.
So
dramatic, right?
Oh my god, Tobias.
And then this is where you find out that Tobias and Alicia are together. Alicia
right.
shows up, and Cecilia is like, wow.
Oh my god.
Broken again.
Broken. Well, because like,
She came back to Triple Falls for him. Let's be real here.
oh, 100%.
Right? You know, she
Like,
wasn't over him.
She knew he was gonna. He cared. He
Yeah.
cared about getting that. You know, company.
Yeah.
That of course he was gonna want to buy it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the fact that like before Alicia came into that scene was the fact that he was being all flirty with her. She's
Yeah.
like kind of passed out. He's
Yeah.
like whispering to her.
She's like getting
things.
sick, and he's like
Yeah.
holding her hair back.
Come on, dude.
Like-
and then yeah, finding that he like is with Alicia, and then like her giving him a kiss, and, like I'll see you at home. You're like,
Oh my god.
God.
Like right in front of, she makes a show of it too. Like,
course they do.
He's mine.
oh,
I was like, oh, poor Cecilia. Again.
again.
So Tobias is like, Kay, I'll take you home. He's still pissed at her, but he's like, Kay, I'll take you home. And that's when she like kind of pours her heart out to him, is basically like, I still love you, essentially, right? Like, I came here for you. I thought like we could be. Then he kind of brings her in. She passes out after she confesses all this stuff for him. He brings her into the house and he's undressing her and he's like saying all these sexual things.
like,
And he's like, hey, I still love you too, essentially.
Oh my god.
And then she passes out and she wakes up and Tobias is still there. And he starts giving her some answers that because he wants her to leave Triple Falls. He's like, "Okay, get out of here."
Yeah.
Like, you know, you
Yep.
do things to me, make me crazy, essentially. Like, I don't want you here anymore, right? So he's like, starts giving her some answers. He said he knew about her since she was a child, which I thought was super fucking creepy.
So
I was
freaking
like,
creepy.
Ew.
So freaking creepy when this
Right?
all starts coming out into the picture. I was like,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
You know when she was like a little toddler?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out
Like,
of here.
He's known about her this whole time.
That for me wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, so sweet. I hated it.
I was
Ew.
like, ew.
Okay,
what a
Predator,
creep,
get the fuck outta here.
He had watched her steal the Thornbirds from the library, which was one of her favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess that like sparked something in him. He's like, oh, I knew you're a spunky little girl.
Ew, I can't. I could have gone without this book. Getting into the details of like
Yes.
him knowing her as a baby,
Yeah,
a child.
a child.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
Okay, because for me, it just makes him look like a
Because she would have
creep.
been like 11, and I think he was like in his 20s.
so,
so like,
yeah.
excuse me, sir?
Yeah, excuse me?
Predator.
Like, ew. Oh, I didn't like it. I didn't like
Right?
this.
And then that's when he kind of promised to himself like he would never involve her. He was going to keep her a secret,
Yeah.
right? From from the Ravenhood and keeping her out of things with Roman, because at that point he still wanted to go after Roman, right?
Yeah, and she wasn't a little like a legitimate child that like Roman didn't even really care about Cecilia or claim her. So it makes sense of like why he's like, okay, I don't want you as collateral.
Yeah.
So I get that part.
Exactly.
But to be like, I've known you since you were a baby. Ew, get the fuck out of here.
Gross. Yeah, that part creeped me out. I was like, okay, unnecessary. And then he also explains what happens the night Dom died. He had received the tip from Roman, right? Which I thought was pretty interesting. Like,
I didn't know what to make about that. Of being like Roman knew, like and had the tip of like, okay, these guys are coming.
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly, because I guess he did not have enough protection for himself and Cecilia, right? And he had known like these guys were involved with her, so he's like, "Okay, I need you to protect her."
Yeah,
right.
Like, I think for me that just solidifies of like, yeah, okay, he's always watched out for her, but I feel like he really didn't, because you could have brought, like Roman, I'm talking about, like you could have told Cecilia more.
Oh, 100%. Like, again, communication.
Yeah,
like,
communication. Like when you wait till the last minute, if you know some guys are going to come down and try and murder you in your house, that like, oh, my daughter's there.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah, just call the Ravenhood.
That's so stupid, man.
And then Cecilia wants to get back together, but Tobias is like, no, we don't get a happy ending. We just get an ending.
Okay.
Okay,
dramatic boy.
And then Colin shows up.
That's right. Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
What the hell, Colin? Out of nowhere.
You.
He's like, hey, oh, is that him? And she's like, what the hell? Oh, Colin.
The guy you used to finger yourself.
I was like, oh God, right? And then they have that explosive argument. He's like, oh, you're just a thug in a suit.
Yeah, they're like battering between the two of
and
them.
Then Tobias like punches him in the nose.
To like say you don't want to be with her, and then you're like egging Colin on of like she still wants me.
Yeah,
dude.
He's like, how does it feel to know like she thinks about me when you guys are
right? Like, dude, you're saying that out loud. She can hear you. That you're clearly fighting for her.
Exactly.
And you're like, go away.
Yeah, go away. Leave. I don't want you here anymore. But yeah, at this point, he's like, just leave. Like, don't want you here anymore. But then I guess this was Colin's kind of like last ditch effort.
I get it. I get Colin.
I know, poor guy.
I get it.
I feel so bad for him.
Me too.
So then they kind of finally say their goodbyes. She gives them back the engagement ring. Like, we're done, right? And then Cecilia goes out to dinner by herself. She's kind of sad, and she sees Tobias and Alicia in the booth. And she makes this huge scene. Like, I feel like this is something I would do. Like, I'm so clumsy. Like, she's trying to be all discreet. Like, hey, I'm just taking my food to go. Like, don't want to be here. Don't want to see them.
Yeah.
She's, like, trying to wave down the waiter, knocks her wine over, tries to clean up the wine, but uses a tablecloth. So the whole table's like,
oh my gosh.
And then her book lights on fire.
Yes. Oh, yes.
The book she's had since she was 11 that she stole from the library. I was
That's
like, oh,
right.
Girl.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah. Trying to be discreet, and it definitely wasn't discreet.
And then Tobias comes over, and they kind of like have this moment where, he's like, oh, it's just a book. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's just a book, right? And then Tobias shows up at Cecilia's house later. And he's drunk. They have some angsty sex again. I just like... He tells her to leave. He can't give her what she wants again.
Like, you're coming to her drunk under the influence. And then you're like, I need you to leave.
Yeah. It's like, okay. And then she's like, well, what about Alicia? He's like, she thinks we still have something going on. Which is obvious.
Like, absolutely.
Hello.
Like, come on.
And then after that, that's when Cecilia finds a letter from Roman in his nightstand, and she finds out that her mother was actually the one who killed Tobias's and Dom's parents.
Yes,
in the accidental fire at the plant, which was pretty huge. Because this whole time we're accusing Roman, right? He's the bad guy. Like, I
definitely thought obviously the mother had something going on.
Yeah,
because of the fact that the mother every time they talked was like, you don't really know Roman.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, she's always trying to
defend him.
That I didn't know what she was like. I knew she would maybe have been involved in their death, but I didn't know like what it was. So that didn't really surprise me.
Yeah.
When finding out that like she was the one who accidentally,
totally
murdered
But like
them.
Cecilia was like, what? F,
Totally.
right? Like,
Yeah.
she goes to confront her mother, and her mother kind of explains what happened, and that she knew Delphine. Roman did love them, but because he was so scared for their lives, pretty much, of like the retaliation that he knew was coming, he didn't want to be involved in their lives. And Cecilia's like, I said all these horrible things to him. I was terrible to him. Like, he
Yeah.
couldn't have told me any of this.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get why, even like after she's an adult, you can't tell her.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
like-
why I was kind of pissed at her mom. Like, hey, you could have given her like a tidbit of this information.
Yeah.
You know?
Though there comes to a point where you're trying to protect her about this because there's, big bad guys, but she's not a little child anymore.
Yeah.
And then Roman, was still alive at that point. So it's like, why don't you tell her? You telling her isn't gonna like implicate anything. Like, you're not gonna go to prison.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I don't
It's-
get why they
yeah.
couldn't have been more.
Again, communication.
It's
important.
Jesus, lack of communication for the trope of this freaking book.
100%.
Like miscommunication. Like, oh my god.
Jeez. And then Cecilia goes and she visits Dom's grave and says goodbye to him one last time. And then she goes and meets up with Tobias at the plant. And she went there to tell him, basically, like, it was my mother. It
Yes.
wasn't Roman. And he's like, well, I already knew that.
I already knew that was gonna fucking be it. Like, he's like, oh, I already knew it was.
Yeah, I don't have to read the letter. I know.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh
and then she's
my
like, how
God.
did you know? And I guess he had met with Roman, right? And that's when Roman had kind of, told him that it was her mother. And Tobias had told Roman, I love your daughter.
Yeah.
Was what he had said, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I was just like, oh my God. Like, what the hell, Tobias?
All of this,
Like, I just don't get why they can't tell her anything. Like, why? Like, I get there's, like, secretive stuff and all that, but, like,
all of
okay.
them wanted to, like, quote unquote protect her and like didn't want her involved, but then everyone who came into her life wanted to just be with her. like I don't
they
get
just
it.
asked her to blindly trust them.
Yeah,
It's like,
like-
okay.
Like, she doesn't know you guys as much as you guys have known her.
Yeah.
And then, like, Tobias didn't want her involved because of that. And then when Sean and Dominic figured out who she was, or Sean did first. And then Sean wanted to bring her in and they were just going to, use her to get more. And then they like fell in love with her. It was like so frustrating
Yeah.
to me, like finding more about like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me too.
It got more and more
I
frustrating.
know. It's just you look back and you're like, wow, like
Yeah.
these assholes.
Assholes.
Right? And then she's kind of like, Tobias is saying like he loves her, but he can't be with her because he's scared, right? Like when he saw Dom die in her arms and how like innocent she was, he doesn't want that. Like if they were together, essentially, he's like, you'd be a target, right? Because he has so many enemies.
Too little, too late.
Yeah,
Ass.
and yeah, so she's like, no, F you, I'm not gonna love a coward like my father. Because that's essentially what her father did with her mother, right? Is like,
100%.
I'm too scared to have you guys around. But it's like, hey, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not what you do when you love someone, you
Yeah.
know, right?
Like, I love you too much for you to be my life. Get the fuck out of here.
Right? So yeah, then she's like, no, F this, I'm done, right? She
Yep.
leaves, she puts Roman's house up on the market and she leaves Triple Falls. Oh no, wait, sorry. She goes and visits Sean first.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, she gets the keys to Dominic's Camaro.
It was kind of cute how she came in.
This part.
I love
oh,
this part.
Sean, he's just like sunshine.
Oh, it was so cute.
Right.
She's like, "Excuse me, I need some help."
He's like, oh, you're trouble.
Turn it around. But like,
Right.
okay, it was cute. Okay, the scene,
Yeah.
but it really frustrated me. Being like, I still think of you sometimes.
I know. I was like, what the heck, Sean?
If someone who I was with,
Like, you didn't fight for it all. Like,
Yes.
she could have been your wife.
exactly,
Dude.
but I still
Like,
think about you.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
huh?
But I think he kind of knew, like, Tobias really sunk his teeth into her. And
True, but like,
yeah.
I
But there was no fight, which I was like, I
No.
would have appreciated a little something from Sean or
Exactly.
Dominic, at that, like, when they first came back.
Yes. What was the point of seeing her and kissing her
Yeah.
and then like she tells you, well, I don't know if Sean saw it because she only mouthed it that I love
Yeah.
you or whatever, but it was a cute, like, okay, I'm gonna let you go, but it just was like frustrating to me. Like, I
Yeah.
still think about you, like you're still trouble, but like
Yeah.
you're good trouble. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like
And he's like holding her face. Like,
It just made me
look at
angry.
Cecilia.
It just made me more
I
angry, the fact that
know.
like Tobias just had to come in there
Yeah.
and like destroy everything.
That's why I have a grudge against Tobias, you guys, because
Yeah.
he ruined everything.
He ruined everything. Like, they could have been a cute
Like,
throuple.
he literally he ruined everything and destroyed Cecilia in the process. Mm-hmm. So then after that, she gets the keys to his Camaro, and then she leaves Triple Falls.
Yeah, so that was cute that he gave it to her.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, he would have wanted you to have this.
yeah.
Right?
And again, just to solidify that, like, Dominic loved her
Yeah.
and she loved Dominic.
Exactly.
And more pissing me the
Yeah.
fuck off.
I know.
That he had to die.
Damn it, Dom.
You're just like shoving Tobias down my throat.
Totally. And then jumps 8 months later. Cecilia's in this new town. Mm-hmm. She's an owner of a diner. She bought a diner, so she's working at the diner, right? And this is kind of the end of the book. She sees Tyler on the TV, which I thought was very interesting because it was a presidential election and he's standing next to the new president, and it was just, you kind of see how far the Ravenhood has really gone, right? Which I thought was pretty interesting.
It was definitely interesting of like what Tyler is like now a bodyguard for them. You're like, what?
He is up there.
How big is this?
Yes.
Like that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then she leaves work early because she's all shaken up after seeing Tyler. She's like, oh, it's like seeing a ghost, right? She goes into her Camaro and she's like, what the heck? Like the song.
Oh, that's right.
The song's playing that when Tobias first came out, when the beginning of the book, she was blasting the song trying to get their attention,
That's
right?
Uh-huh.
And that's playing in the car, and she's like, what the hell? Like, I haven't listened to that song since this
Immediately
day.
she knew something was
She's like,
up.
what? She feels the hood. She's like, okay, car's been taken. Only one other person has a key, and that is Tobias. Okay, he comes out of the grocery store. She's like, what the hell are you doing here? Basically.
Yeah, after 8 months again.
After 8 months again, you asshole. And he's like, essentially like, no, like, I made a mistake. I want you.
Okay.
Like,
I don't. Oh my god.
this last little part was like wrapped up very quickly for me.
Yes. Yeah.
I know there is a third book, but like, it just, this last part, I was just like,
Yeah.
I was pissed. Why would, like, she was like, oh, okay, like,
The whole back and forth for me was getting like too much now. Like,
Yeah.
okay, months go back, years
Yeah.
go back and forth. I don't love you. Yes, I do. Come back. I just was like, rereading it, I definitely was more like, oh God, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't really into the romance this time around.
I know. It definitely, it takes away from it because,
Yes.
like, I have a grudge from,
I have a grudge
against Tobias.
And
like,
I do remember reading it for the first time and like reading the second book and the third book. I definitely was kind of like just going through it. I was like, oh, they're cute, but I wasn't like in love with them.
yeah,
as
me
a couple.
too. Me too. I agree.
Just because, it was too much back and forth that, sometimes it can be really like good, right? Like enemies to lovers or like they're fighting but come back to each other.
That
But
angst.
that
and, like,
angst.
anticipation.
yeah, but I
Second
still,
time around, I was just like, ugh.
yeah,
I hate you.
I hate you. I was more mad.
Yeah.
I think the fact that like the Straw and Dominic and Cecilia romance just didn't progress much.
I
Like
know.
I was like, I really wished it could have been more than just
Me too.
the first book and then the first quarter of
too.
this book.
I agree.
Like I wanted more of that story, and
Me
I think that's
too.
why I was frustrated about this book.
Me too. So yeah, that's the end of it, and yeah, we're kind of left just wondering. like,
Wondering,
you know,
I
which it sucks because I do love Dominic.
I know
Dominic was my favorite.
is my favorite. Oh, this book, I definitely like rated it. I think I did rate it 4.5
Yeah.
stars. Like I don't think I rated it 5.
Yeah, I think it was like 4.5 for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only because the fact that Dom dies in the book, so I'm not gonna give it a 5 star rating.
100%.
That I don't know. This book was so good, but also made me frustrated.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
You know?
Do you have a favorite part?
I think the only part, I wouldn't call it a favorite. I think it's because it's Dom's last moment. I think out of everything of that book, it probably,
It stood out the most.
I think it stood out the most
Yeah,
in terms of
definitely.
like,
It's like my favorite and least favorite part.
Yeah.
Right? Just like the things he says to her before. And then my least favorite is he dies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just I wish he would have told her that stuff before.
Yeah, me too.
Like too little, too late.
Yeah,
Especially in that moment. It was. Oh.
You guys had the opportunity to talk to her when you guys got back. Yeah, you were upset with her. You're trying to be good boys
Yeah.
for Tobias, but you had so many opportunities to talk with her and
Yeah.
explain.
Exactly. And it's like at that point, he betrayed you anyways, so F him.
Yeah, exactly.
you
Like,
know?
aren't you mad?
Yeah.
Like, you guys could have explained everything and again, not have Cecilia figure all the stuff out
Yeah.
because she had to come to that conclusion of, oh, they actually like at first just wanted me to bring me close because, you know, they want to fuck with Tobias
Yeah.
or just bring her, I don't know. I just,
Yeah. I agree.
frustration.
I know. Were you excited to read the third book?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I was excited, but like mad excited.
Yeah. I was just like, yeah, honestly, it could have ended here. It could have. The way it ends, it could have, you know, you're just seeing this happy ending.
Yeah, of like,
right?
oh, hey, he's coming back. Figure it out.
Honestly, like, yeah, it could have ended here, but
I
there
kind
is
of-
a third book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree. Like, there's still some sort of like, what's happening? Like, why is Tyler in the government?
Yeah, there's a lot of, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff, right?
So I think it could have ended there, and I would have been happy to not read the third book.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Oh
I
my
agree.
gosh, it's not bad. I'm
Yeah.
not saying like the third book was bad. It's just like more stuff that like I didn't really care about. You know,
I agree. Yeah.
I if you really love Tobias and Cecilia, then I understand why the third book is essential to get more of their story.
Yes.
But for me, I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't like Tobias.
I was like, I dealt with him and I like was
Yeah,
like, okay,
you know,
but I wasn't like in love with
Yeah,
Tobias.
exactly.
No.
Dom has my heart.
Yes.
All the way.
All the way. So we would kind of finish a trilogy. But we throughout this month, throughout the beginning of this month, we kind of sussed the book club of everyone was like,
Yes.
I'm not waiting. And I couldn't expect
Which
them.
I know, I agree.
'Cause
It's
I didn't
like-
wait.
Yeah, exactly. Me neither.
So
Yeah.
we were like, okay, let's just make a decision. Let everyone finish the finish line.
Yeah.
And then December we'll do a different book. And so we're not really gonna like review the finish line
Yeah.
unless people do request that in the future, and
Yeah.
then we can reread it and go through it. So we're not really going to talk about the finish line, but just so you are aware, if you're not following us on Fable, that we're not going to use the finish line for the next book.
Yes.
For book club. So just wanted to mention that.
Yes.
So what did you rate it?
4.5.
4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the same reason of like,
Yeah. The whole Tobias debacle.
yeah, the whole Tobias debacle. And like reading it, I don't know how I pictured Tobias. Do you
Yeah.
remember how you pictured Tobias?
Just this like tall, dark Frenchman.
Like taller than Dominic, or like
Yeah.
the same height as Dominic?
I think like taller. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Muscular.
Muscular.
Well endowed.
Yeah, I can't remember how they got well endowed. It took me a second. Oh my gosh! Yeah, this book was so good in terms of like getting us out of a reading slump.
Yeah.
So like it definitely holds a place in my heart.
Me too.
Um,
And you get like so many answers in this book.
you do.
Yeah.
So many answers. You definitely get you figure out why Dominic was the way he was in Exodus
Yeah.
or
In
Flock,
yeah.
of not wanting Cecilia to be a part of it and like kept pushing her away. So that was really nice to kind of figure out why they were
Yeah.
the way they were.
Exactly.
And then again, it still made me angry figuring out why they did what they did. So it was like
Yep.
a lot of answers, but then it still made me frustrated.
Frustration too at the same time.
Yeah. And so when I was reading this book, I don't think One Last Rainy Day was out.
Oh, that's
Dominic-
right.
Dominic's
that's
book?
Dominic's book.
Yeah.
I think there's another one too.
It's
right?
Tyler's.
Oh. I love Tyler, but just
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really care about him and Delphine.
No, I don't really either. I think if when we first read this trilogy, if those books were out, I for
Yeah,
sure would
we
have.
probably would have. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would have read
Yeah.
them, especially One
Yeah.
Last Rainy Day, because I
Yeah.
wanted more of Dom.
Yeah.
But I feel like being so many months out and like rereading it again, that like I don't want to. I do want to read it, but I don't.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
because then I'm just gonna get more mad.
I know. I agree.
I'm just gonna get more mad if like Dominic's no longer alive.
Oh, 100%.
But it'd be cute to get more of his point of view,
Yeah.
because I know if you guys have read One Last Rainy Day, it is, I believe, if I can remember correctly, it is in Dominic's point of view
Oh, okay.
of meeting Cecilia.
So it does take place with Cecilia too.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think it's like
cool.
the story
Okay.
of
I wasn't
Flock.
sure if it was going to be like more of like him growing up, like that
Oh,
sort
maybe.
of thing.
I don't, it is a novella. It
you
is a
know.
novella, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a very
Oh, okay.
tiny one, so I don't know
Okay.
how much detail, but I do know like when he's in love with Cecilia, it goes into his mind.
Oh,
So you
okay.
get to hear him, whereas
Yeah.
like in Flock, obviously you only
You
heard
don't,
Cecilia's
yeah.
mind. But I am curious of what the book is about. I'm just not at the moment that interested of reading it.
Me too. I
get
agree.
too
I
many
have too
books
many
to read.
others on my list.
I'm sure eventually, I will read it to kind of
Yeah.
like tie everything up.
Yeah.
But
Maybe one day.
maybe one day. But I know so many girls who love Tobias, and like I don't want like I know we were shitting on him.
I know, like just don't take that the wrong way.
No, don't
like
take it-
he's a good character. It's just
Yes. I think if you reread it like we have,
Yeah.
I think you come in with a different perspective of
totally.
of
Because at
just-
first I wasn't really like.
I
like
was
this.
mad, but I wasn't
was
like-
mad, but I wasn't like, oh my god, like everything happened because of him, kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So I do hold a bit of a grudge. But,
Yeah.
I think that's only because I've read it twice.
Twice now?
Like you come back and you kind of see that you're like, oh,
yeah.
it was him.
I knew I wasn't into their love because I really was still held up on the boys.
Me too.
But rereading it, I definitely felt more angry, more angry for Cecilia of just the way they were like treating her and not letting her
Yeah.
in, and they just kept doing like up and down,
Yeah.
like the emotional roller
Like
coaster.
this poor girl.
This poor girl
This
is going
poor
on.
19-year-old girl. Like,
Oh, I felt so bad for her.
me too.
I wonder, what do you guys rate Exodus?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? I'm sure you enjoyed it.
Yeah,
because
it's hard not to. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how you could hate on that book.
I
It's
don't
so
know either.
good.
It's so
Yeah.
good. And hopefully, if you're listening or watching this review, that you're okay with the fact that we're not going to be reviewing the finish line.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you've gotten to the end of November, you've already read the finish line because
Yes.
we couldn't wait. I'm sure you're not going to want to
Exactly.
wait to the next month because
Yeah.
most of these girls finished this book within the first week of
Yes,
November.
exactly. So, I was
So-
like, hey, we can't.
No.
We're not going to prolong it.
No, because I
You
sure
guys
couldn't.
go ahead.
Like before I even finished Exodus, I immediately like ordered the other one.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
there was no stopping me when I started
Yeah.
reading this book.
Totally. Totally.
Oh my goodness.
So, with that being said, we do have a new book of the month
new book for December.
Do you want to?
Oh, we are going to be reading Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicilari. Well, no,
Yeah, Sorelli?
Cicilari. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I don't know how to pronounce it either.
I don't know
I
how
was
to
just
pronounce
guessing.
We are terrible at author pronunciations. But if you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding the book. This was my one of my favorite books of this year in terms of fantasy. Like, I'm not much of a fantasy reader. I'm trying to think of other fantasy books like that I've read. Like, you've read Harry Potter. That's fantasy. Have you ever read much other fantasy books?
Not really, no.
No. Yeah. I definitely.
I'm trying to think.
I know. I'm
like,
trying to think too. I don't think fantasy. Well, that's not true. Okay, well, Twilight is a fantasy. Like, if you're thinking
yeah, I was
fantasy,
just thinking, like, are the Hunger Games fantasy?
I wouldn't work. No, I wouldn't think that's
No.
fantasy. No, for me, well, what do you define fantasy? Like, for me, I define fantasy of
Magic
like, yeah,
and, like, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Witches.
other beings,
Yes,
otherworldly beings
yeah,
in the book.
yeah.
yeah. So for me, Heartless Hunter was a very quick read. I really loved it, enjoyed it. I'm going to read the inside. Enemies to lovers doesn't get more high stakes than a witch and a witch hunter. On the night of Ruin's life changed forever. Blood ran in the streets. Now in the aftermath of a devastating revolution, witches have been diminished from powerful rulers to outcasts, ruthlessly hunted due to their waning magic, and Ruin must hide what she is. Spending her days pretending to be nothing more than a vapid young socialite, Ruin spends her nights as the Crimson Moth, a witch vigilante who rescues her kind from being purged. When a rescue goes wrong, she decides to throw the witch hunters off her scent and gain the intel she desperately needs by courting the handsome Gideon Sharp. He's a notorious and unforgiving witch hunter, loyal to the revolution, and Ruin realizes she might be falling for him.
Sounds like a good one. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to be starting this week, so I'm excited.
I'll be rereading it.
Yeah.
It's such a good book. It's so quick. Witch hunter. Their romance is very tension.
Yes.
Like he doesn't know who she is. Obviously, she knows who he is.
Yeah.
It's really good. And when I finished, I immediately wanted the second book. And it's still not out. It comes out, I don't know when.
Next year, right?
Next year. It's already out in the States and like the UK.
Oh, okay.
So been like, thankfully no one spoiled it for me, but it doesn't come out until next year, but I'm super excited. I think everyone's going to enjoy it. Yeah. It's not too much fantasy. So if you're not a person who's read fantasy, it's very easy to follow along of how the magic system works with Ruin and her magic. I think it's definitely a nice
intro book to fantasy.
Yeah, because I have never met many fantasies book, but I know sometimes for me things can get like too complicated where I have a hard time like remembering everything.
Yes, yeah.
I haven't come across that yet, but I think it's one of the worries I have sometimes of like of a fantasy of like so
it's
much.
Too much. You're like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, or I'm just gonna forget. And what was funny, I actually saw on TikTok the other day of someone called like a dummy reader. What was it, dummy reader or something?
Reader? Oh.
Yeah, it's a dummy reader, and the girl was like, "Are you a dummy reader?" Or where she's like,
I probably am. Is that where you like can't like retain?
Well, it's just like you're in the book for the vibes, and then like some people are like so intricate. They're like, wait, that can't be true because what they heard in the beginning of the book, and then the girl's like, I don't know, I just read it.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm just here to read it, like not deep dive into this,
not deep dive,
breaking it down.
No, she's like, I didn't find no plot holes. I just wasn't for a good time, and so I thought it was so funny because like I'm funny. For sure.
I think that's how I am, 100%.
Yeah,
because some people can get so critical. While I'm just like, meh, it was good, it was bad.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
totally.
I'm just like, meh.
You're like, was it 5
I
star?
vibed with it, or I didn't vibe with it. You know,
I don't think it's an actual like term, but that was so funny. Where she's like, "Are you a dummy reader?"
Yeah.
You're like, I'm a dummy reader.
I am.
So that's
too funny.
So funny. So if you haven't read Heartless Hunter, are you going to with us for the month of December? I'm sure you guys are going to be finished it within like the first week. It's not too long of a book. It's very it looks thick, but it's very quick to get to.
Yeah, I think it's only like 350 pages. So
yeah, it's kind of the same size of like what Exodus was. So I'm sure it'll be hopefully interesting for you guys. So if you pick it up, I do believe you can buy it on your Kindles. It's just not in the Kindle Unlimited. If you have Kindle Unlimited, but I definitely recommend going to get it out on your shelves because it's a really beautiful cover.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Yeah, it's a stunning book. So I think that's it for our book club review of Exodus. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe.
Please, thank you. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.